on Krishna. Right? So Krishna himself at different points he makes statements that are designed to evoke trust in, and rightly so. If we trust Krishna to be our protector, our companion, our guide, as close to perfection as we can get in our lives. But there is a contra side of it also, right? Because essentially, when we are dealing with Krishna, it's between two persons. Arguably, one person is much more exalted than the other, but nevertheless, it's two people. Right? So relationships by nature are bilateral. Like there is this, it's an incident. Sometimes they say it happened in the Chopati temple, or sometimes they say it predates it. But the incident goes as follows: that in the temple, there is a person who had come to take darshan of the deities. So he had taken darshan of the deities, and he was a strict follower of etiquette. So one of the offenses to the deities is turning your back to the deity. So he didn't want to turn his back to the deity. So he gave obeisances, and he was moving back while facing the deity, and there was a person standing behind him, and he kind of crashed into him. So he was a little upset. He said, "Didn't you see me coming? I was walking backwards, so I couldn't see, but didn't you see me coming?" And the other person said, "I didn't see you because I'm blind." Right? So the person was a little bit taken aback. He said, "If you're blind, then why have you come to what are you doing over here?" And so the blind person said that, "I have come so that Krishna can see me. So I have come so that I can let Krishna know that so this was recited by Radha Govind Maharaj. So he said, I've come so that I can let Krishna know that your servant has come today, marked him present, and if there is any service that you want to give him, please consider him for that service." So the person was very much taken in by this mood that almost always we go to the temple to take darshan of the deity. Now, of course, it's not that we are giving darshan to Krishna, but Krishna is also happy to see us. Right? That's also there. We are happy to see Krishna. Krishna is happy to see us. Right? In Braj Bhagavad Amrita, it's Sanatana Goswami notes that when Gopa Kumar, he finally is liberated and he goes back to Golok Vrindavan, and Krishna is playing with the cowherd boys over there, and then from a distance Krishna sees Gopa Kumar coming, and Krishna, he just leaves everything, and then he runs towards Gopa Kumar. He jumps at him and he holds him tightly in his arm. He says, "Where have you been?" And Gopa Kumar is crying, and Krishna is crying. Gopa Kumar is fainting. Krishna is also fainting. So the give and take is the hallmark of a personal relationship. So similarly, Krishna at many points he makes these statements that you trust me. Right? Most famous is the 1866, right, where Krishna says that Aham tam sab papebhyo mokshayami ma sucha. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of everything. So if we were to now look at it from our perspective, what is it that we can do to make Krishna trust us. So, what is the anatomy of trust? What are the factors that go into developing trust? And trust is it's not something that is entirely in the spiritual realm. It's what, to a great extent, even we deal with it on a day-to-day basis. Trust between friends, trust in family, trust between colleagues. So it's something that we're very familiar with. So what would you think would be one of the factors that evoke trust, that is conducive to building trust?
Being sincere.
Being sincere, okay.
To just show up. To just show up.
To just show up. Thank you.
Being in line with what the other person is expecting from us, so we are acting in that lines.
Acting according to the other person's expectation. Very good. Thank you. Any other thoughts?
Reciprocation.
Reciprocation. Okay.
Doing some service to the person.
Service to the person, helping the person out. So yes, if you kind of categorize these thoughts, they come in four broad categories. First component of trust is reliability and consistency. Right. So you trust a person. Trust is almost synonymously used with it. Right. You trust a person if the person is reliable. Like the person says that I will do this for you. Right. And then if the person does it, then the trust grows. The person says I will do this for you, but does not do it. And that is the it may not result in distrust, but will definitely weaken trust. Right? So we see the example of the Pandavas, that the Pandavas very, very reliable and consistent. If you see Mahabharata, they go through so many trials and tribulations. It does not impact their relationship with Krishna. Right from the beginning, from the time that they were small, they went through, their father died, they came in, Duryodhana and company were trying to kill them, then the Lakshagre, then 13 years of exile. In the Mahabharata, Abhimanyu is killed. After the war is finished, they think they have won the war. Then the 5 sons of Draupadi are killed. So that theme of things not being copacetic is almost it's all very, very consistent in the lives of the Pandavas. But along with this, that is also the theme that they were always there for Krishna. Right? Whatever Krishna wanted them to do, they did. Right? Krishna wanted Bhim to fight with Jarasandha, so okay. Right. Krishna wanted Arjun for the Khanda, burning the Khanda forest. Fine. So many things that Krishna wanted the Pandavas to do. They did not say that, yeah, but you remember that time we were in so much of trouble. Where were you at that time? Now you're coming in. Now you're coming and asking. Or we will do this, but in future just be careful when we need you. So you never see that kind of a conversation. Right? So you see this very, very strong notion of reliability and consistency. Think of one personality who did not demonstrate that. I meant one devotee. Duryodhana was kind of a, he always envious of Krishna.
Jad Bharat.
Hmm?
Jad Bharat.
Who?
Jad Bharat.
Jad Bharat? Well, Bharat.
Bharat. Yes.
Jad Bharat was more, he was displaying it.
Right.
But yes, Bharat is an example where he reached to the stage of very, very exalted devotion. And it said that Bharat was at the stage of Bhava Bhakti. He was so advanced that he was the emperor of the planet, and then he just gave it up. He just gave it up in the prime of his life. He just gave it up like it's nothing, and went to perfect his devotional service. And then he got distracted by taking care of a deer. So if Krishna was looking at Bharat for consistency, that was not it. So one of the cornerstone of trust is when we are building, trying to build, getting Krishna to trust us, is the fact that we make ourselves reliable and consistent. Right? So what does that mean? It means that when we go through spiritual life, there are so many interactions that we have directly with Krishna or to his representatives, to our Guru Maharaj, to other Vaishnavas. If we demonstrate this quality of reliability, that I promise to chant 16 rounds, so I will chant 16 rounds consistently. Not 8 rounds one day and 24 rounds another day and no rounds the third day. Right? Sometimes people say, well, if you're going to add up to on an average 16 rounds, then maybe we can do that. But it's not a matter of, it's not a mathematical equation that we are trying to establish here. Right? Where what we are trying to do is, we are trying to evoke trust in Krishna. That we made a promise to you or your representative, we will keep that promise. Right? Srila Prabhupada was very strongly in favor of this principle of reliability and consistency. Right? So for those who do Pujari work, what is the two things that Srila Prabhupada said that were very important for, this is mostly for temple work, but also for home. What are the two things that he said? Very, very important for pujaris?
Punctuality and cleanliness.
Punctuality and cleanliness. Right? So punctuality is that you have promised Krishna that 7:15 there will be an arati. Not at 7:14, not at 7:16. Right? So sometimes people will say, what's the big deal about time? Krishna is there, I am there, we are not going anywhere. Instead of 7:15, 7:20, what's the big deal? The big deal is that we made a promise to Krishna. Now, if you wanted, you could make a promise of 7:20, but then you stay at that promise. So this is something that you can see in devotees who are practicing scrupulously, who are sincerely practicing. You will see that they will demonstrate this quality of reliability and consistency. Whether it comes to service, whether it comes to keeping your commitment. The second thing is that builds trust is integrity. So in terms of integrity, integrity translates into staying true to the spirit of the relationship. Which devotee do you think demonstrates this quality of integrity?
Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj.
Prahlad Maharaj. Okay. Prahlad Maharaj, yes, true. Somebody that is more so focused on the integrity aspect.
Hanuman.
Hanuman also. So we see that in Bhishma. So the interesting thing is that because of his commitment to integrity, Bhishma actually took sides that were against opposite to Krishna. Right? He took the sides of the Kauravas. We see that in the battlefield, he was actually actively attacking Krishna, attacking Arjun, trying to kill the Pandavas. He took a vow that he will kill the Pandavas, provided he get the weapons. So under normal circumstances, you would think that Krishna would be really upset at him. Such a great personality, great warrior that is there, and one of the biggest hurdles in front of Krishna. Right? In Mahabharata, Krishna always says that to cross this mountain by the name of Bhishma is almost impossible. Like once Arjun was boasting, and Kshatriyas by nature they tend to boast. Arjun was like, by my Gandhi, I assure victory to Yudhishthira. And Krishna says Bhishma is like a mountain in front of you. There's nothing you can do. And frankly speaking, yes, that if Arjun had not, so to speak, cheated, there was no way that he could have defeated people like Bhishma and Dronacharya. Right? They were very, very powerful. But then how does Krishna reward Bhishma? That he personally comes and stands before him at the time of his death. So the whole essence of the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is played out over there. Yam yam vapi swaram. Krishna says that just to make sure that you remember me while you die, I'll personally come and stand in front of you. So that there is no question. Now, of course, Bhishma was such an exalted personality. Whether Krishna was there in front of him or not, it would not have mattered. And he was completely, he was like a yogi, completely focused on Krishna. But this is Krishna's reciprocation to one who builds trust. Krishna says, yes, you can do all that, but I will still come. I will still come to you. So if you recollect in the Mahabharata, before the Bhishma's pastime happened, this is when the final pastime, the Pandavas had won. There's all this discussion, political discussion that is happening, what to do now, how to administer the kingdom, and Krishna is completely distracted. Right? He's not paying any attention, and everybody is constantly looking at Krishna, and Krishna is not paying any attention. So finally, they say, what's going on? And then Krishna says, I can't think of you because the only thing that I can think of is Bhishma lying over there in the battlefield. Right? And then, of course, just like Krishna bewildered Arjun into speaking Gita, Krishna bewilders Yudhishthira. So Yudhishthira, he goes into all this lamentation, and the acharyas say that Krishna had the ability to convince Arjun, but he lacked the ability to convince Yudhishthira. So Krishna kept trying to convince Yudhishthira. So Yudhishthira went into this self-doubting stage when he witnessed the millions of people who had died, and he said that just for me to sit on this throne, I've caused this genocide. So many people have died, and so many houses are now, children are orphaned, women are widows, there's nobody more sinful than me. So he was going down the self-abnegation route. And Krishna tried to convince him, no, this was dharma, this is that, and nothing was working on Yudhishthira. And then Krishna says, come on. And then he goes to the battlefield, and then Bhishma instructs Yudhishthira, right? And then Yudhishthira is, yes, now I understand. Right. Now Krishna would have said, what about me when I was telling you nothing happened at that time? Now that Bhishma has said, now you're saying, yes, I understood. But Krishna was actually happier that now that by the instructions of Bhishma, because Krishna's nature, that more than himself he wants to glorify his devotee. So lack of integrity. Can you think of somebody who displayed a lack of integrity? I'm trying to think myself also.
जी. Would gopis be considered when they prayed to Katyayani Devi?
No, actually, gopis are considered to be more of the opposite. Gopis are an example of the highest integrity.
Right.
There is this pastime in Vrindavan where Durvasha Muni, he says, something like, one who has the highest integrity can serve me. And Jatila Kutila says, us, there's nobody who has more integrity than us. And then they say, okay, how do you prove it? So you take a pot, you make holes in it, you fill it with water, and you cross the river. If the water stays in the pot, that means you pass the test. So they make a pot, they fill it with water, they make holes in it, and all the water goes down, goes there, right? So different people are trying, and the water comes down, and then finally Srimati Radharani says, "Let me try." So then Jajila Kutira laughing. She says, it's a joke. Everybody knows that questionable character. Many people have seen her running around with this black person. So I don't think. So he said, no, let me try. So then Radharani fills the water, and of course she's able to cross it, and then the Durvasha Muni then happily he asks her to cook for him, and then he eats it. So yeah, they are actually considered to be the epitome of integrity.
In Mahaprabhu's pastime, there was a Ramachandra, someone who constantly advises, criticizes Mahaprabhu, you're eating, or yes.
Actually, it's a good, more than, so you're thinking of Ramachandra, right?
Yeah.
He was kind of the spiritual master of, godbrother of.
Is Guru Maharaj.
But there's another personality in Mahaprabhu's pastime called Chota Haridas. Right, and Chota Haridas, he was very dear to Mahaprabhu, and he was also an excellent singer. So he would often sing for Mahaprabhu. But once he was a sannyasi, and once he was spending more time than needed with a woman. And Mahaprabhu got upset at him and banned him, and ultimately gave up his life because of that. Of course, with devotees, everything ultimately turns out okay. So,
Satrajit.
The what?
Satrajit. Lack of integrity with the Shamataka pastime.
That's a good one. Yeah, Satyajit is a good example. And Dwarka, right? Yeah. So how does integrity manifest in our lives as practicing devotees? Seema?
So I feel as devotees, I feel if we have integrity, we'll always do the right thing, especially when nobody's watching us. Especially if nobody's watching us. So of course, in front of everybody, we can all be very full of integrity. Chant the name and all that stuff. But what happens when we are actually in the house, nobody's watching us, or Krishna is between? So it's between me and him, rather than.
Thank you. So actually, I just finished the thought Seema started. That is one of the definitions of integrity. That how do you conduct yourself when you're alone? So when we are in the association of devotees, then of course we get inspired by the presence, and we also want to be favorably looked upon. So to speak, we are on our best behavior. But how do we act when we are alone, or when we are in a different circle? So integrity by nature is the fact that one's action is not predicated on circumstance. It's self-standing, and that it does not need to be under the threat of scrutiny or discovery later on. Right? So we do it because we think it's the right thing to do.
Prabhuji, could integrity be synonymous to authenticity?
It could, very close.
Because I'm thinking, you asked the question about being integrity in devotional life, right? But I mean, I'm based on my psychophysical nature or karma, right? I could be authentic and I could not be practicing devotee, right, at times. May not go in line with being in integrity with just doing devotional services. If that makes sense, I don't know.
So the context of this is how to build Krishna's trust in you.
Right.
Right. So what is the kind of integrity that you would demonstrate that would evoke trust from Krishna towards you? So one of the points that Seema is making is that yes, if we chant good rounds with other people around, we also chant good rounds when we are alone. Integrity also means honoring our vows. If we have made vows, then the statement that is done that you have made the vow, but there is no vow meter, right? There is nothing that keeps measuring how well are we following our vows. The only thing that assures the spiritual master about the disciple following the vows is the integrity of the disciple. So in terms of integrity, we spoke about Bhishma Dev as demonstrating integrity. We spoke about devotees as demonstrating integrity. We spoke about Chota Haridas as somebody who probably did not demonstrate circumstantially integrity. The third leg of building trust is sincerity. So sincerity is commitment to do the best that you can. Can be expanded into different synonyms. Not looking for excuses to not do it, not taking advantage. Like one example that's given in this is that in the month of June there is Nirjala Ekadashi. At least in India, here also, but in India it's very, very hot at the time. So difficult to stay nirjal at the time. So apparently devotees will go to Yamuna or Radha and take a bath there. And when they take a dip under the water, they drink water. Come up. So maybe the others don't see it, but Krishna of course knows this. So sincerity is that you do to the best of your ability. The classic example of sincerity is Dhruv Maharaj. So he got an instruction from Nag Muni. He did not have he had no no significant spiritual assets. In fact, if anything, he had disqualifications. He was a child, not very well trained. He was doing it out of ignorance, anger. He was doing it out of anger. He wanted to take revenge from his stepmother, his father. So all the wrong reasons that he was doing it, but yet he ended up getting the mercy of Krishna. Why? Because he sincerely followed the instructions of Narada. Narada said that this is the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You sit over here, and instructions of Narada are just like maybe 5 or 6 verses. You take a bath in the morning, you chant this mantra with full attention, and try to minimize other activities, right? And very, very sincerely, he followed. And of course, the process then, because it was endowed with the mercy of Narada Muni, it was also endowed with his potency. As he followed the process, he went up from the mode of ignorance all the way to Shuddha Sattva, right? To the point where he could get the darshan of Lord Vishnu himself. Yes, Marita.
Sorry, I would let you finish. I can ask later.
Yeah, but-
So, Prabhuji, integrity and sincerity together would be a clear conscience, no? And I'm just thinking, if you have a clear conscience, wouldn't that be a combination of integrity and sincerity?
Having a clear conscience. Yes, I would agree. That so the opposite of clear conscience might be that being duplicitous, right? So if one does not have that duplicitous attitude,
Tendency, yeah.
then these qualities would emerge from that.
Yeah. Sincerity, again, you need a clear conscience to be sincere. There has to be an anchor, like you have to think of, you have to have a clear heart, because otherwise you tend to, become more practical and try to do things that suit you that day or works for you.
Correct. Clear heart, and I would say it is maybe a necessary but not a sufficient condition. You would have to have a clear heart, but you also have to be clear in terms of what is it that you want. I'll give you an example. In 241 Bhagavad Gita, famous verse, Bhayahari Buddhi Prabhupada, when he was giving a lecture on this verse, he says that is the verse that caused me to leave Vrindavan, come to the US and start ISKCON. That's why that verse is very dear to ISKCON devotees also. It's not very clear the connection, because that verse says that Vyasatmika Buddhi Eke Kurunanda. Krishna says that those who are fixed in this path of spiritual advancement, they are single-minded. And those who are Avyasadnika Buddhi, and those who are not fixed, Bahushaka, they go to many places. But the connection is that in the commentary for that, in the lecture to that verse, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he makes this point that this verse is also talking about your commitment to your spiritual master. That Vyasatmika Buddhi Ek Hai Kuru Nandana means that your single purpose in life should be fulfilling the desire of your spiritual master. The Prabhupada does not write it in the purport, but if you read the purport, he writes this verse, Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasado, that whatever that you get by the mercy of the Guru is the same as what you get by the mercy of Krishna. Okay? So he makes this point. But when Prabhupada in the lecture, he was saying when he read this verse, he thought of what Bhakti Vinod Thakur said, and then it took his mind to what Bhakti Siddhanta had told him. That print books and preach to the Western audience. Right? And that basically took him. Prabhupada was well settled in Vrindavan. He was living the life of a renounced person, fairly known there among the Vaishnava community. Left all that and came over here. Sincerity in terms of following the instructions. Yes, there were so many reasons why Prabhupada would have said that this won't work for me. I'm old, my health is not good, I'm going to America, maybe I'll make some disciples and send them. So many things he could have said, right? But he did not. So similarly in services you will see that devotees who are fixed, sincerity does not mean that they will excel at it. Right? It does not mean that somebody is coming to cook, the person cooks the perfect pav bhaji. Right? But it just means that he will show up. He says, I promise to make that. I will make that. I will give my best effort.
Yeah, but the point Prabhu is trying to make is more like,
Can you speak out a little louder?
so the point you're trying to make, I think, is more of the Drad Nischay, right? The
Yes.
strong determination
Yes.
that Prabhupada had, neglecting his age and his,
Yes,
all the
absolutely.
hardships that he probably knew he would face.
Yes, you're right. His determination came from his desire to follow the instructions of his spiritual master. Right? Everything else was there. It's not that Prabhupada was not aware that
Yeah, exactly.
99.9% he will fail. He is going alone. So Prabhupada did not even know that Indian rupees don't run in the US. He came with 40 rupees. He had no money, really speaking, right? He had 40 rupees in his pocket, and then he did not know that rupees don't run over here, right? So, and not that he prepared a lot, and his preparation was more like writing the commentary on the first canto of the Bhagavatam. He got his books over here. But that did not deter him. He said, let me give it my best effort. If you read the Markin Bhagavatam, he makes this point over and over again. I have no qualifications. Out of humility, he said, I have no qualifications. This place over here, they don't know Krishna, they don't know me. What can I do? He said, but if you want me to succeed, so be it. Otherwise, you can make me dance anyway you want.
This is actually true with a lot of Mahapurush, right? Vivekanand, similar story, how he gave up his life. Gautam Buddha, he was a prince.
Yeah. You see that in a lot of exalted personalities. They display this quality of sincerity. So, did we talk about somebody who did not display sincerity? We did not, right? So who would be a person who fell short on sincerity?
Jagai Madai.
Jagai Madai were rascals to begin with. So, I was talking about devotees, devotees who were trying to follow the path and they fell short on sincerity. Maybe it'll come to me. Okay.
Bharat Maharaj.
HP based.
Sudama would probably be an example of the opposite, one who demonstrated sincerity. So I was asking somebody who did not demonstrate.
When he denies what he's eating and eating food.
Oh, that part. That pastime is questionable. It's not in the Bhagavatam. Actually, I know it's a very popular that he took something and then he's told him I'm eating, but did not want to share with Krishna. It's portrayed a lot, but there is no, at least not that I'm aware of. There is no scriptural reference to that. Must have come from somewhere, obviously. So the last aspect of trust, it's a little counterintuitive, is vulnerability. And vulnerability is saying no. Right? So somebody, Nirjala Ekadashi, Krishna at different points, directly or indirectly, he glorifies. Best is following Nirjala Ekadashi. If you can't follow that, then Nirahar. If you can't follow that, don't eat grains. A devotee says, Krishna, Nirjala Ekadashi, sorry, won't work for me. Right? So vulnerability is being open about both your strengths and your weaknesses. Right? Kunti Devi is a classic example of one who showed all her vulnerabilities to Krishna. Especially if you look at the prayers of Kunti Devi, right? She said, "I'm so attached to my sons, so attached to my worldly affairs, and still you have been there, protecting me. But somehow or else, I cannot break on my own this strong bond of the strong group of attraction that I have. So Krishna, you break it." Right? So that sense of helplessness, the sense of that I'm on my own, I cannot do this, but I'm honest about it. Right? Similarly, in devotee interactions, right? Vulnerability is it's an endearing quality, as opposed to somebody saying, "Prabhu," or like Jali saying, "My Prabhu does Mangalarti every day." "My Prabhu does 16 rounds before the Brahma Muhurta." So just saying that, yes, there are days when I cannot chant in the morning. I chant during the evening. There are days when I know I cannot chant good rounds, so I chant, but I somehow or else I go through my rounds. The beauty of that vulnerability is that it evokes the mercy of the other person. It evokes the mercy of Krishna. You go to Krishna and say, "All good." Krishna says, "Okay, all good." Now, of course, Krishna knows everything, but you say, "All good," Krishna says, "All good." You go to your Guru Maharaj, and people go to the spiritual master, and they'll ask all these far-out questions, like, why is there a peacock feather on Krishna? Why can't it be an ostrich feather? Why is Krishna black and blue? Why couldn't he be yellow or whatever? Whereas the conversation they should have is that, like Kunti Devi, that I'm trying to break this knots of material attraction, but I'm not succeeding. Right? Then the heart of the spiritual master opens at that time. Because till the time that you're showing that you're basically a person whose only concern is Krishna's color and clothes, then that's where it just limits it to an academic discussion. Right? So genuine vulnerability is something that attracts trust. The other person is not trying to portray himself as infallible. In terms of vulnerability, I think the personalities. So we said Kunti Devi is the one who was able to evoke Krishna's trust by demonstrating it. Jay Vijay are probably examples of one who did not display that vulnerability. So they were basically guarding Krishna's inner sanctum, and they had these 4 Kumars come and basically wanted to pass through it. So later on, they themselves say it's an ambiguous situation. We don't really know what to do. that these are very, very exalted people, but nevertheless they are from the material world. Right? They are not from the spiritual world, and our service is guarding Krishna. So they could have handled it in a different way. They could have told the four Kumars that take a seat, we'll go inside and check. Or even if they had to refuse, they could have refused them in kinder words. But but they had this sense that we are the innermost, we are the innermost protectors of Krishna. Krishna depends on us for maintaining his privacy, right? So that's the way we act upon, and of course then we know what happened. So to conclude, I think as we
Speak in the mic. You're barely audible.
so as we also look to Krishna and look to him to so that we can repose our trust in Krishna, we also act in a way that Krishna becomes favorable to repose his trust in us. And what happens when Krishna reposes his trust in us? So we see that in the we can take Bhagavad Gita as an example. What is the symptom of Krishna reposing trust in his devotee? What is the manifest? How does it manifest?
He gave assurances to Arjun.
He gives assurances. Very good. What else?
Confidential.
Confidential, right? So we see that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he tells Arjun that first in the third chapter he says that I will give you this he's talking about karma at that time. Because you're not envious of me, I will give you this information, right? And that information is confidential, right? Good information, but lowest in the ladder, right? Then Krishna says that now I will give you more confidential information. Right? He says I will give you more confidential information because you are not envious of me, because you're a friend. Right? He says Sakhaji, because you're a friend. And then finally Krishna says that because you're never envious of me, because you're always my friend, because you're my devotee, now I will give you the most confidential information. So in 4:11 Krishna said, Yathamam prapadyante tam te pachami, that I reciprocate in kind. So as we act in a way that we evoke more and more of Krishna's trust in us, he will reveal more and more confidential realizations in us. That is Krishna's implicit and explicit promise. Right? So many promises Krishna makes, especially 9th chapter, famous for promises. That's why it's called the most confidential knowledge, the 9th chapter. It begins with so what are the promises Krishna makes? The famous verse, Ananyas Chantiyantasma Ye Jana Puripasate. Nitya Bhukta, Tesham Nitya Bhuktanam Yogakshema Vahamyam. That I will preserve what you have and I'll carry what you lack. Right? And then is Abhichet Sudaracha Vidante Mamanantama Sadhureva Yamanmante. That even if you're Duracha, you're the most one. I will protect you. And then he says, Kshipati Bhavati Dharmatma, Shastram Shantam Digachati, Vanteya Pratijanai, Name Bhakti Pranashati. Right? He says that, declare it boldly, O Arjun, that my devotees never. So we always see Krishna constantly. Finally, in 18th chapter, 64th verse, I think Krishna then, he says, he tells, now I will reveal to you the most confidential knowledge, after which he speaks the Manmana Bhava Madbhakto and Sarvdharam So it's not that even in real life, even in our material dealings, if a person is called trustworthy, it's a big badge of honor that a person. If somebody says that this person I can trust, right? That person feels very, very special, and you feel very safe around the person. That this person is trustworthy. Person is reliable, consistent, has integrity, sincerity. Is not vulnerability. Not beyond saying no. So much more for our relationship with Krishna. So, in order to summarize, in order to develop Krishna's trust in us, then in terms of reliability and consistency, we honor the promises that we make to devotees, to our spiritual master, to Krishna. In terms of integrity, we execute them to the best of our ability. In terms of sincerity, similarly, that we don't make excuses. We don't look for excuses why not to do it, but we look for reasons why to do it. And vulnerability means that we are open. Dadati pratikanati bhuyamati viprasad. That we are open to just like we are open to giving advice, we are open to receiving advice. One devotee was humorously saying that Prabhupada said that ISKCON is a preaching movement, so everybody preaches, nobody is willing to hear the preaching. Everybody is like, So I remember once there was a young girl who came, she got married to a devotee, she came, and a sincere devotee, all fired up, and there was another devotee, he'd been practicing for like almost 30 years at the time. He was a doctor, so he had just, at that time he had just come, he was sitting in the bench, he was in a non-devotee clothes. And this young girl goes to him and then she starts like, living like cats and dogs and what's the point in all this life? And this person, talking about Dr. Modi, Divankar Prabhu, and this person is so sincere, he was listening to him. Yes, you're right. He had been practicing it for a longer time than she was actually even born, right? And but he was very, you're right. I should think about it. You're making a good point. And her husband was in the background saying, "Come, don't just come, just stop speaking." So preaching is both ways, right? Preaching is you preach to others, and you let others preach to you also. You speak and you hear. Okay, so I'll stop over here and see if there's any discussion.
I have a question. So, what type of devotee is Draupadi? Because she was, Krishna, she called Krishna Sakha, a friend, and she was vulnerable, but she also had the ego issue. She was egoistic. She was in the middle of a situation that she did.
She was in the middle of what?
She was in the middle of that humiliation when she called for Krishna. Then, I could think of 2-3 pastimes when she called for Krishna and Krishna came to her, like the Akshay Patra instance, or so. How do you put Draupadi into? Because I think a lot of us could be in that situation where,
Don't eat on your words. Lovely one.
Yeah. So a lot of us could be in that situation where we could be in such a situation where we need to call for Krishna.
Right. So maybe I misunderstand the question. So you're saying that calling for Krishna is a sign of not being a devotee?
Of being a devotee. So what type of a devotee is Draupadi? How?
Very much like the Pandavas. So in terms of the relationship
With Krishna.
with Krishna, she has a friendly relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Sakyaras.
Yeah.
So just like the Pandavas, she also has a Sakyaras. So Krishna would call her Sakha and she would call Krishna Sakha. Right? So
Yeah.
they had a friendly relationship.
Yeah.
In terms of being a devotee, she was very much like the Pandavas and an associate of Krishna. The antecedents of Draupadi, depending on which Puran you read,
I see.
the different, and according to some, Vedavati in Lord Ram's pastime was born as Draupadi, and according to some, so last week we were doing the Purushottama Maas, and the daughter of sage, what is her name, Sage Kudru, right? The daughter of Sage Kudru is born appeared as Draupadi, maybe Kalpade. But regardless of where she came from, at least in Mahabharata, the position was similar to that of Pandavas, being very, very close, intimate associate of Krishna. She's one of the Panchakanyas. She's one of the 5 women who are considered to be exemplary in character there, and obviously very, very dear to Krishna. Whenever she calls him Krishna,
Yeah.
Krishna comes. It's not there in the Mahabharata, but in one of the Puranas, Krishna apologizes to Draupadi that, like sometimes they say when Draupadi was being disrobed,
Yeah.
then Krishna waited for her to put her hands up, and then he came. There's another pastime related to it, that at the time when Draupadi was being disrobed, Dwarka was attacked by Shalya. And Krishna was busy fighting with Shalya. And so when he killed Shalya, then his attention came at that. Now, of course, Krishna is God. He
It could be
doesn't,
multiple.
he doesn't have that problem, but it's a pastime. So he then apologizes. He said that because Shalya was there, I was not able to come in time. And he said, what were your 5 husbands come? So actually then Krishna begins to take up his Sudarshan Chakra to kill the Pandavas. That how did you allow my devotee to be humiliated in this way? So then at that time Rukmini stops him and says that if you kill, now if you think of light as bad, if you kill her husbands, you can imagine what a light will be at that time. So not in Mahabharata, but in one of the other Puranas. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the beautiful class, Prabhuji. Definitely a lot to think through about these qualities and these things. I have 2 questions, Prabhuji. First one is
Prabhuji, can you please speak louder?
Sure, Mataji.
I know all of you have good voice.
Yeah. 2 questions, Prabhuji. First one is the integrity of Bhishma Dev. Like most times it appears like it is towards his vows, but how they are related to Krishna, because they look like very materialistic vows, like that he don't want to get into the throne, and so what specific thing that attracted Krishna in that integrity aspect? So that is one question, Prabhuji. And another question is, like when we are able to build that trust in our Guru Maharaj, spiritual master, so like I understand we get more confidential services. So what is the relation between the trust factor and the shelter giving aspect, and what is actually really we should aspire when we think of shelter of our spiritual master? So
thank you. Very good questions. So in terms of Bhishma Dev, if you look at it from a broader perspective, the integrity that he demonstrates is towards the scriptures. Right. It's not so much, to some extent, that there are devotees, or there are kathas in which Bhishma Dev is criticized, that he was too materialistic, that he was too proud, that he had said that I will take this vow, and there is dharma and paradharma. Like Krishna is paradharma.
Correct.
Right? Firstly, Krishna never asked Bhishma to fight on the behalf. Krishna never asked Bhishma to not fight. Now, maybe if he had asked him, he may have not fought. He may have still fought, but Krishna never asked him. Right? But the integrity of Bhishma is his fidelity to the scriptures.
Sure.
Right? So that was, he's one of the 12 Mahajans. Right? So that's the quality that and Vedas are they're not different from Krishna. So maybe he was never inimical to Krishna. Even as a person, he was never inimical to Krishna. But you're right. He did not. He was always in the opposing party, so to speak. Right? Maybe not so much in the opposing party, but definitely not in Krishna's party.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Not there. That was there, but he never deviated. Only one point where it is said that he deviated is when he did not stop Draupadi being destroyed. That was only one point that he's considered to have deviated. But if you look at that conversation, he takes, at that time Bhishma takes shelter of Yudhishthir. And when Draupadi turns to Bhishma and he says that, do you think this is right? And then Bhishma turns to Yudhishthir and says, do you think this is right? A little bit political, but still he takes it. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So, if I understand your second question, in terms of...
What was the second question?
Sorry?
Can you repeat the second question?
The second question.
Second question was how does your spiritual master's trust in you manifest? What is the result? What is the manifest result? Right? That's what you were asking.
Right.
That if you are able to evoke the trust of the Guru Maharaj, then what happens there?
And I'm asking regarding shelter also, what actually we should look for.
What actually we should look for in terms of shelter from the spiritual master. Right? So to some extent, I think you kind of alluded to it in your question that the spiritual master. So this I can tell you from personal experience that in conversation with my Guru Maharaj, he said that the spiritual master does not reveal all the information to everybody. Right? There is some general information that is like if they are giving a class, there's some general information that will be revealed. When they're talking to the disciple, some more specific information may be revealed. If they're talking to a very dear disciple, then the information goes even deeper, becomes more confidential there, right? Now, information is just, information does not mean that the person, then Guru Maharaj says that actually there were 28 gopis on the right and 13 on the left. Not that kind of information, right?
Yes.
So this is information that helps the person make spiritual advancement. This is information that helps the person come closer to the spiritual master and to Krishna. Right? So as the spiritual master sees more sincerity, more integrity, more reliability, consistency in the disciple, that's how the spiritual master reciprocates. Right? And the manifest symptom is the nature of the services that are given. Right? You can see that in almost any guru, there are some disciples that they give the more critical services, right? Because they trust them more. They trust them that yes, I can give it and forget about it. Right? That's the symptom of the manifest symptom of trust. And what is the result of it? That you come closer to your spiritual master. Right? You come transitively closer to Krishna. Okay, so yes.
Thank you, first of all, Prabhuji, very nice class. So Prabhuji, I was thinking, we exhibit these qualities more on the material side of the house, like tend to be more sincere, more integral at our workplace to build that credibility. We tend to be more sincere towards doing our duties towards our kids, whatever day to day. And on the other side towards Krishna, like let's say I'm not able to do morning aarti, I'll say, okay Krishna, please, I'm not able to do today. I'll do it in the evening, right? We take it a little more lightly. So how do we understand that? Does that come part of vulnerability, or is it like plain excuse? How do we understand that?
It could be part of vulnerability for sure. There are circumstances as such that that simply do not allow for certain services to be executed. Then yes. Like for instance, spiritual masters will make a lot of concessions for new mothers. Okay, this is fine. You can't do this. You can't do that. And, so part of vulnerability at the time. You kind of balance it off with sincerity. I think the core point you're making is a good one, that building trust is not something that is alien or foreign to us. We all aspire in our relationship to be people who are worthy of receiving trust and being with people that we can trust. So those trust building muscles are there in us. The reason we don't apply it that much in our spiritual life is because we are not convinced about we are not convinced about the benefit of it. Yeah, so if you are the colleague and you consistently promise and do not deliver, then you will see that almost instantaneously he or she will then start going somewhere else. Right? But with Krishna we don't see that. So what we don't see, we interpret to our benefit. So just understanding that this is something that is at least as, if not more, importance. And the reason that this is a topic that is relevant for devotees is because when we go for making spiritual advancement, there are a lot of things that are new to us, but this is not. This is something that I mean, unless the person is an out and out Jadai Malai type, right? It's different, right? But otherwise, we are all working very hard to be worthy of trust and to trust also. So we are very familiar with what it takes to build trust. We just need to apply that in the context.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I think it's a very deep topic, very difficult to, keep that relationship, go through various lenses and draw a parallel that it worked here and same way it will work the other way also. So my question is a little bit of a flip of what Shri Padmanabhji asked. So our relationship with Krishna and our relationship with everybody else. And let's say my relationship with Krishna is very pakka. No matter what in my life, that's the biggest rock in terms of priority, right? How is that visualized and seen? Because I think another aspect of trust and relationship is practicality, right? What can you ignore versus what can you take up? And the example that was coming to my mind, and I'm also a little bit extending my question again from Krishna's perspective, and you elaborated a little bit on it, that Draupadi example. Krishna was very angry, but at the same time, Krishna's relationship with Pandavas was very, premium and pristine in one aspect because they were very sincere to him. But if they were not very sincere towards their wife, circumstantially, and Krishna did, so I'm just trying to weigh in the two, and it's a very deep and complicated thing just so that we can stay true to everything around us. It's a very difficult job.
So Prabhupada would say that Krishna consciousness is simple for simple-minded people and it is complex for crooked people. Right? So we can make it as as complicated as we want. One of the sannyasis was saying that more humorously that Krishna is bent in 3 places. We are bent in 3 million places. So any day we can defeat Krishna. And, Krishna appears to be very cunning to Radharani, but he is no match for us. We are a lot more cunning than us, right? Then, so we can say a lot of things like practicalities and feasibility and this all that is there. They're all valid as long as we stay true to the core. The core is that there is you, there is Krishna, and we have forgotten a relationship with Krishna. By some stroke of good fortune, we have the shelter of Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj and an opportunity to re-establish that relationship. Right. So what can we do to make the most of that opportunity? It comes out to fairly simple aspect of it. And by the mercy of Mahaprabhu, it's not that it has been made very complicated. Look at it, what is it that we are asked to do? You can 16 now follow 4 recollective principles, do some level of deity worship. Prabhupada once said that when he was doing temple deity worship, and the devotee started saying this is too complicated. Prabhupada said, if I tell you complicated, you'll faint. So the deity worship that is explained in Tanu Puran has been simplified by Sanatana Goswami and Hari Bhakti Vilas. Right? Almost from a scale of 100 to 1. And Hari Bhakti Vilas from 100 to 1 has been simplified in Islam. And temple worship from 100 to 1 is simplified for home worship. So we do very, very basic.
Right.
So Kalaya Dosh Nidhe Rajan Asti Ek Mahapuna. So many disadvantages of being born in this age of Kali, but also a lot of concessions. Simple deity worship, chant 16 rounds, associate with devotees. Concluding thought is that it is not necessary that we do everything perfectly all the time.
Right.
But what is necessary that we should aspire to. Right? We should sincerely aspire to. We should not take shelter of our shortcomings. And so we should not say that this is very complicated, there are so many mitigating factors. So where does that leave us? That it reinforces our shortcomings. So it's not that we will become perfect on day 1. The shortcomings will be there. It will be a journey. But the journey will move in the right direction if we accept the shortcomings for what they are. We don't try to explain them away. We don't try to rationalize them. The only person that we are harming in that case is ourselves. Nobody else. We are not your spiritual master, not Krishna. Only person you are harming is yourself.
And that helps probably, because if I'm sincere in my one relationship, I think it will also take me
It will reflect it.
on the everywhere.
Very good point. All the qualities, not just this. Sincerity, trust, being excellent. It reflects everywhere. You see that, right? You see that in devotees. You go to New Vrindavan, you see the palace of gold. It's been made by people who had no background in architecture, no background in construction, right? And such elaborate things like construction of temples and preaching movements, etc. Right? And they themselves are surprised. Mukul Maharaj says, I don't know how we got in touch with the Beatles. At that time it was easier to get in touch with Krishna than with the Beatles. Right? And somehow they got in touch with the Beatles. Thank you.
Miraculous.
Pamirana?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for the beautiful class and for so many nuggets of your wisdom. Just a reflection when you were answering Sri Padma's question about, we don't see, that's why we don't have the faith that Krishna is actually there. I was thinking, is it because we are not grateful we are not counting our current blessings? How much of it is because of not being saved? Could that be the root cause of not being able to see?
It's a good point. So the question is that how much of this is coming from lack of gratitude, and it's definitely a key aspect of it. The opposite of not being grateful is taking things for granted. That we just take things for granted. That yes, I've gotten all this, so there's no need for me to make any further effort. A disciple of Prabhupada was once sharing that she was in a mall and then she met another god sister. Who a lot of Prabhupada's disciples, they were lost, they were not practicing. So she was just talking to her. And she said, I got initiated by Prabhupada, that is my ticket back to Godhead. I don't have to do anything more. Right? And so she made this point that when you got the ticket, then there was also, you have to get onto the train to go to the destination, right? So the train is that follow the rules and regulations. Just the ticket itself doesn't do much. So certainly, being aware of our indescribable good fortune that somehow else has brought us into this path, and also developing a certain amount of regret of not taking advantage of it. Who knows? Like Siddhant said, who knows? Next lifetime we'll get this opportunity or not. At 6th chapter, Krishna says, you make some advancement, then I'll give you birth in the family of a king. So, I'll give you opulence. I will give you wealth. Right? Where do you remember Krishna and all that?
Yeah.
You're born in a rich family, you're famous. Where's Krishna? So somehow we have, because of mercy, because of our good fortune, we have this opportunity. So also having that sense that let's make the most.
Prabhu, I have another clarification to ask you. I was thinking when you were talking about manifestation of Krishna's revealing the confidential knowledge. When Narayani Mataji was here and she was sick last time, she said something which just stuck to me and I was like, I've never heard someone say that. She said something on the lines that the Paramatma in me told me that not to travel. So is that a manifestation where you can hear your Paramatma?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Same person.
Right.
Yeah. And actually, what we consider as intuition, in devotee it becomes a lot stronger. Because they are more connected to the super soul. It becomes a lot stronger. So that's definitely a manifestation of Krishna.
On that point, I was thinking that isn't the same point on how we think about parents. Like we take our parents for granted because we know they are not going anywhere. They'll be there for us. The first point you made. And we take them for granted until they pass away, and then we think about them and we remember that we didn't spend enough time with them. So just thinking that.
Yeah, and same thing is possible. I mean, not that spouses are they're more in the same age group, but the same thing that there are so many things that we tend to regret later on. That we could have should have done. We regret later on, which goes back to the point I was making that this. We'll end here. Shri Prabhupada.
Jai.
We have our nursing is there. They are not here.
Fresh.
They'll be coming.